All right, welcome back to That 70s Card Show. I am your host, John Keating, and here we talk about the cards, the culture of the very colorful 1970s, and some other things as well. Currently sponsored by nobody. I could be reached at That70SCardShow at gmail.com, at 70s Card on Twitter, and on YouTube at That 70s Card Show. This is episode 27, and we are calling this The Future of the Past. A few weeks ago, I had Ray on from Ray Fonio on, and I kind of disparaged Facebook a little, and it wasn't meant for anything other than I don't do any social media stuff for this show on Facebook, but I do a lot of shopping there for cards and member of some groups on Facebook. And oddly enough, one of the groups is called Vintage Sports Cards, Wax Packs, Estates Auctions, House, and 1860 to 1993. That's a lot to absorb, I know. So it's a vintage group on Facebook, and this post came up. I'm going to bring this post up on screen here before I bring my guest on. Uh, yeah, so check out this post. A gentleman named Josh Walker says, "Here is a fun fact about me. I'm a big vintage card collector, and I'm a 19-year-old college student studying nursing. I always loved vintage. My grandpa and dad showed me vintage when I was about 12 to 13 years old. I love the history of these cards, and it's my goal to keep vintage alive for the new generation." And with the post was a picture of some pretty cool cards. I think that kind of we see cards, we get all excited. So obviously, I got excited about this. So I asked Josh to come on. It's 5 a.m. my time in Vegas. It's 7 a.m. Josh's time, so I appreciate it. I'm not hungover. I'm just up early, so that's why my eyes are bleary. So here comes Josh, and Josh, how you doing, man? Welcome to the show.
No, I'm good. How about you?
Good, man. So want to go over some quick things with you. Obviously, we mentioned you're 19 years old, and we'll dig deeper here in a minute. Tell me where you're from, if you don't mind.
I am from Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I've always lived here from like age 0 to age 19, so I'm a native here.
All right. So, what's the difference between Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas? If you're going over to Kansas City, Kansas, where do you tell people you're going?
In Kansas City, Kansas, there's more like farms, and Kansas,
Okay.
it's like kind of more of a city.
Okay. So you just tell
Mhm.
people I'm going out to the farm. All
No, yeah.
right. What do you do? It says you're a student here. Where do you go to school, if you don't mind me asking?
I go to a community college around here. It's called
Okay.
Paulson Community College.
Uh,
Yeah, so I'm pretty much getting all my prereqs done, and then in the spring, I'm going to be entering into actual nursing school in the spring. So,
any ideas where that's going to be?
yeah, I'm probably going to head up to UCM or something, University of Central Missouri.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think.
rankings. They have like the best college game day atmosphere. If you look up on the
Oh,
rankings.
good, man. It's good to hear. Um, yeah, I think that's a wise thing these days is to get a lot of that nonsense done in community college. One of my sons did that. It was the smartest thing he did.
All right.
College is expensive for sure. All right, so that's that. That's the easy part. You're coming from your little man cave at home there. I'm in a hotel room now, so you're amongst your cards. Tell me what your first memory of uh, sports cards was, or for your generation, it might not have been sports cards. So tell me your first taste of that.
My first ever taste of a sports card was when I was, God, I was probably like a 10 or 12. And I saw these packs at Dick's Sporting Goods one time that had Mike Trout on them, and I'm like, oh, I don't know, he's pretty good. So I bought a pack and everything, and I opened it up, and I pulled one of my favorite players, Mike Trout, out of it, and I was like, dude, this is kind of cool. And that just kind of got me into collecting. And then you fast forward a couple years, and I found about this card shop I have called it's not around anymore, but it was called Pine Tar Sports Cards or whatever. And the owner was super cool, and I've gotten so many cards from that guy, and that's kind of my first encounters of actually collecting all that stuff. And I didn't become a serious collector till this year, honestly.
All right, so you've had an epiphany. Now you're hooked. Do you remember when you realized you were hooked? Was it this year or was it way back then? And it's just taking you this long to.
I would say it would be this year because I realized I was hooked because I had a hand injury and basically I was just at home for like 3 months or whatever.
Right,
So I was like, okay, I gotta do something that's fun, and I just like and then like I looked through some cards I had. I'm like, oh, I forgot I had these cards.
right.
Pulled out like Mark McGuire rookies. I pulled out Jerry Rice rookie, all that stuff. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. I didn't know I had this.
That's pretty
So
good. Yeah, I mean, it's the pandemic brought a lot of people back into the hobby, probably myself included. But it takes something like that, a little bit of isolation, right, to
oh yeah.
for it to really kick in. Now, do you have? I'd like to ask who your enabler is. Are you self-enabled, or is there somebody along the line that's always bought you cards or encouraged you?
Oh, I've always been self-enabled. My parents would never want to buy these high dollar cars that I have right now. But it's like because like sometimes my parents would always be like, why are you spending this much money on a piece of cardboard? And I'm like,
Right.
dude, more than a piece of cardboard, it's history.
Yeah, my people from my generation, our moms just used to throw stuff away, and there's
Hmm.
obviously a lot of stories about that. But it was the same thought process, like what this cardboard's not worth anything. But we all learn a lot, I think, from the hobby, the backs of the cards and all that stuff. Um, so your social circle, you have friends that you collect with. You do it. Is it a solitary endeavor for you? What's the
I have a pretty wide majority of friends that collect with me, but a lot of them just collect modern stuff. They don't really understand a lot of vintage.
right?
So I'm
Okay,
probably the only one of my friends that will collect vintage and all that stuff and know the history of it. A lot of them just like to collect cards like that or something. It's
gotcha.
like
Shiny stuff, right? So I'll get to the vintage here in a minute because obviously that's what fascinates me about your story. Favorite sport to follow or to collect? What do you think?
my favorite sport to collect is baseball because like I grew up playing and watching baseball, so like, I was just
Right.
like, okay, I've always been hooked to it,
Is
and
you, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, I've always been like hooked to baseball. So when I collect cards, I probably know more about baseball, but I'm like kind of probably starting to get into some vintage basketball and all that stuff.
Okay. Yeah, vintage basketball is pretty cool. I mean, I do some stuff. I do a couple episodes. I've done them, and I'm going to do more, obviously. But it's really cool stuff out there, man. It's I think more so than football and hockey. I think vintage basketball really is pretty cool. Um, so you Kansas City. Who's your favorite athlete? Mike Trout, right? But do you have a favorite local athlete?
Our favorite local athlete would be Drew Lock. So because like
Okay.
yeah, because he's actually a really cool guy, and because like I got to meet him in high school. He went to
Okay.
school with me, and he's a very humble guy, and he was actually a really good quarterback in high school, obviously because he got a four out of Mizzou, and so yeah, so he's kind of a local hero in my area.
Is he going to get a chance? You think?
Hmm.
Is he going to get a chance soon, or what?
Oh, if Jonathan Taylor gets another punctured lung, probably.
Gotcha. Um, so is Trout your favorite athlete to collect? I mean, do you have your PC, which I'll ask you more in depth about in a second? Do you
Yeah. Well,
gravitate just to Trout, or what's the
yeah.
deal?
I'll be honest with you. I don't rarely collect modern. I rarely do.
Okay,
Yeah.
smart man, my kind of
Yeah.
guy.
And then because like Mike Trout is because I like to watch him play because like when I'm watching him play, I'm watching history right now in front of
Right.
me.
Okay.
Because he'll probably go down as like one of the best to play ever. My opinion.
Yeah, he's a Philadelphia Eagles fan. If you didn't know that, and that's where I'm
Oh
from.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
He's Philly.
yeah. So we classify most of us classify vintage as pre 1980 or 1980 prior to because of obvious reasons. The manufacturers expanded threefold in 1981. So uh, vintage is a very wide swath of a description to describe that era. What do you have any particular decades that you focus on or sets? from the 50s or 60s or 70s or even before that?
Yeah.
What do you got going on?
I usually try to go as old as I can because those like 1900 T206s, T205s and older
Right.
always like fascinating to me because like how can a card that old survive
It's
100
amazing, huh?
plus years on that? It's like wow.
Yeah, yeah. Defies all odds, right? It's crazy because they weren't, on the simplest terms, people don't understand that they weren't made to be collectibles back then. They were just
Yeah.
advertising. So the fact that they survived is amazing. And you know, in the mid '80s, I know this sounds dumb or I sound like an old guy, but around your age, I bought a couple of them as well, and I still have them, and it's pretty cool to know that I was able to take care of them for the last 30 plus years as well. Kind of get them across the line there. What was your attraction to vintage cards? Because it's not the norm for somebody of your age to get into vintage, let alone exclusively focus on that. So tell me what your attraction was.
Yeah. Pretty much my main attraction was because like I'm just I'm a pretty big history buff, so like I just like love history. So it's like whenever I get like an old card, I always want to know who the player is, what was his life like, all that stuff. So with vintage, I kind of always have a lot of fun looking up who they are. Like for example, Rube Waddell. I was like, okay, Rube Waddell was kind of an interesting fella. He chased fire trucks and whatever during a baseball game, and he was a good player.
Yeah.
It's like some stuff like that where I'm like, that's kind of cool. Where I feel like baseball is such a rich history. It's been around since like what the 1880s, 1870s, maybe
Right.
older. I don't know.
Right.
And so yeah, that's pretty much how I got into vintage and all that stuff. And then like when I look online, I always saw vintage cards. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of a cool card. Stan Musial, that's a cool card. Mickey Mantle, cool card.
Yeah, it's good that you recognize that because it is history, obviously. And then it's, then you see something and you educate yourself, right? You go to Baseball Reference or Wikipedia and you find out about these guys, and they were fascinating. I like to say a lot of the players from the early 1900s were scoundrels and rascals, but that's just the way
Mm-hmm.
they were back then. It's a little too homogenized, I think, at this point. That's one of my knocks on modern is the modern game is it's everybody seems to be the same. There aren't the characters that you used to have.
Mm-hmm.
So, name me a player that you like to collect from the vintage era.
Mickey Mantle's my main guy I like to collect
Okay.
because I'm actually related to the guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was my great cousin, and it's my grandma's side of the family.
That's impressive, man. Not a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people could say that. And Mickey, as you probably know, uh, is responsible for a lot of this hobby at this point because he really captured the hearts of a lot of kids in the 50s and 60s in New York. Obviously, the biggest market in the country, and his 52 tops is legendary. Obviously, what do you have there? Show me some of Mickey Mantles if you have them.
Well, I got a couple. Yeah, 1964 tops. Well,
Yep.
I'm about to upgrade that soon because like I really need more of his stuff. I had his where's the other one? I had one more somewhere because the rest are in the vault. So I'm like, okay,
Right. Yep.
I'll
So,
probably find it later. But
uh, so what's your favorite Mickey Mantle? Whether you have it or not, what's your favorite Mickey Mantle card? Do you think?
I would say my favorite Mickey Mantle card of all time would be the 1953 Bowman Color
Okay.
that has Hank Bauer, Yogi Berra, Mickey Mantle in it. Like, that's probably my favorite card ever.
All right, I have that card actually, which is
Really?
yeah, and I bought it years ago. I bought it at the end of the '90s when eBay first came out, and PSA was just kind of getting going, and I bought that card. But it's a beautiful card, right? They're in the dugout.
Oh, I mean, you need to have a talk after.
I don't know, man. I've had it this long. I don't know whether you're gonna pry it out of my hands.
Oh yeah.
So let me ask you a question about that. You know, the term PC these days can mean anything. It can mean one card, or I have a couple 100,000 cards. I collect. I try not to. It's not inventory unless they're duplicates. So, what do you? How do you go about collecting? You the same way? Card comes in, goes out. Um,
Usually I will hold on to a card until I see an upgrade version. So So let's just say I have a 1955 Sandy Koufax and I got 3.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to show it in a 4 or 5, it looks nice. I'll trade you my Koufax for that and plus the money. That's kind of how I am with it.
So
You know,
you'll always have one, right? You'll always have a Koufax. It's upgrading is the way to go. So that I understand. I just don't. I have a hard time with. I'll trade that Koufax for something else, and then that Koufax is gone. But you
oh yeah,
seem you seem
I
to.
never loved that at all. I was like,
Gotcha.
because like when I was a kid, I made that mistake as a kid with like one of my cards before, and I just regret that so much. But then part of this hobby though, you just kind of like just kind of learn on your mistakes and like look back on it kind of thing.
For sure, and I'm actually going to ask you about that later on because there's a couple of things that I'd like to talk about, past
Yeah.
regrets. Um, you get into the vintage pool, right? And did you realize how deep it was? I mean, there's so many modern sets, and I understand that, but a lot of them are just parallels
Mm.
and the same thing. Vintage, you know, did you dive in? Did you dip your toe in? What was your first? It's like a different world, right? You take the blue pill and you go into that world.
Oh yeah. When I first went to bench, I didn't realize how big the community actually was.
Right.
I thought it was probably like maybe like a small handful when I collect vintage. And I look on these groups a couple years ago, and I'm like, holy crap! There's like
Yeah.
thousands of people that like vintage, not just me. And like, it's kind of crazy to me that there wasn't very much younger people. Like, not saying that everyone's old there, but it's like there's a lot of people like there's like way less teenagers and kids that are in that groups besides just a bunch of 20-plus-year-olds pretty much.
Yeah, which is, it's an interesting thing because I think that the people of your age these days are much brighter and smarter and educated about the hobby. You guys grew up with computers, phones. You know how to use them and whip up comps and all that stuff. So, one of the things that steers me away from modern is the disadvantage I have with my old brain. I'm curious to see how you do in the vintage area because you have all the weapons at your disposal. Just the way you have a modern way of thinking, but you collect vintage. So that's more of a statement than a question. But I'm you're gonna stand out for sure for other reasons other than just your age. Your capabilities and abilities to process information are much more developed than mine. So. Um, Tell me about grading. You're a slab guy. I saw you have a couple slabs there. You exclusively. I mean, I saw an SGC. You PSA SGC. Do you do everybody? What's your deal?
If was like usually I buy the slabs just so I know those are for a fact those authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Because like some of those cards they're usually like one of the most faked.
Yep.
And it's just like if I'm buying online, I might as well get a graded card just so I know for a fact that it's real. And if I were to ever get vintage cards, I'd always try to go SGCs as much as I can do. But I'm like, if I get PSA, that's okay too.
Have you
But
done submissions on your own with SGC yet?
yeah, I've done some submissions. I did a submission where you had a Harmon 1955 tops, Harmon Killer Brew, and like some other card I can't remember at the moment. But you have all those guys.
Yeah, it's wise to. Even though there's an age gap between us, I have the same philosophy. I don't. I want to buy an authentic card,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know whether it's trimmed or altered or whatnot. And when you're making deals that are these sizes now, you have to do that. You need some peace of mind, and I do the exact same thing. I love raw cards, but if I'm buying a 55 Koufax, I want to make sure it's not trimmed,
Right.
altered. So.
Or if it's like actually real or not. So it's like, again, but like those, cause like, it's sad. It's sad to say, but like, there's a lot of people that are very money driven in this hobby,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to just try to make a quick buck by just scamming people off of making a fake card or just whatever. So like, I always see these listings on eBay. Next 52 tops Mickey Mantles,
Right.
And I see people bidding like thousands of dollars on a fake, and I'm like, it's really fake and all that stuff. And no making metal cards are ever gonna go for $1,000 like 50
Yeah,
top.
right. Yeah, there's a whole store on eBay. It's nothing but fakes, but they don't
Yeah.
really make that apparent. And it's been going on forever, man.
Oh yeah.
It used to be people didn't counterfeit anything other than a $20 bill because it wasn't the time and effort to make a $1 bill or a $5 bill wasn't worth it. But now with cards, it doesn't matter, man. It's crazy. Um, so are you a set builder or are you just
Oh, oh
strictly going individual here?
oh yeah. I'm a set builder, so I
Okay.
kind of right now I'm trying to work on a sign X52 top set right now.
Well, good luck with that, man. That's about the
Yeah.
hardest thing you could do, right?
Oh yeah, right. Well, I've been talking to Ted Sherman, and that guy's really well known for having the whole entire set almost done with it.
Okay.
So, because he's like 384 cards out of 407. So it's
Wow.
like, so it was kind of cool talking to him. But having a signed card from like those guys, it's kind of cool because like most of them not even around anymore.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
Oh yeah, and Willie Mays not even signing anymore because he's probably about to croak soon. And then,
Right, right.
um, and it's kind of cool because like there's some cards that are super hard to get. Like there's a Bobby Hogue, or how you say his name. Card number 952 tops. It's so expensive because he only signed like a handful of them. So it's like,
Right. Yeah, and you're not going to get, it's not like he signed. Yeah, you're not going to get another one, right? He's
mm-mm.
most, like you said, most of those guys are gone. I think Willie Mays might be one of the last ones left from that set alive.
Oh yeah.
So that's a big set. Any other sets that have less lofty goals?
55 tops so far. I
Okay.
have no facts. I'm right now going to get the Clemente, but I'm so far in a conversation to get a Clemente soon. So I'm like, okay,
Okay.
oh, I'm almost done with that set. And then there's one more set. I think I'm working on the 1969 set right now.
Wow, it's kind of random, huh?
Yeah,
50,
right.
52, 55, and then up to 69.
Oh yeah.
Hey, I do a lot of the 70s stuff here, man. The 70s are fairly inexpensive to put
Oh yeah.
together, and there's some beautiful cards there. So don't
I
forget
like
about
the
that.
challenge usually. So like I kind of like those like harder to get sets
Yeah,
because
yeah.
like I just love the chase of it kind of thing.
Right. Did you get the 69 mantle yet?
Not yet. I've
No.
been well, like one of my the shop I have here. He has the white letter one, and I'm
Uh
like,
huh.
I'm like, dude, you wanna sell me that card a little bit? And he goes, no, keeping it.
Oh, he just puts it out there to tease everybody,
Yeah,
huh?
right. It's like, man, dude, what?
That's not
He
that's
knows
not.
he knows well that I like Mantle. He knows well too.
Yeah.
That's like, man.
So 19 years old, you're in vintage. It's an expensive game. How do you do a lot of just constantly trading up? What's your financial plan when you do this stuff?
So basically, when you're collecting cards, you kind of always have to have a set goal. So so whenever I get paid, right, I always put in X amount of money into a savings account, and that would be my spending money for cards.
Okay.
And there'll be some times where I would buy a card for like 3 months. So I'm just saving up for everything, and like there's other times where you can just trade up for stuff and like you can just throw in a little bit of money. Which that's the beauty of the hobby. And but yeah, that's kind of pretty much you do is just save, forget about it for a bit, and then just like, oh, I have this. Okay, let's just
Gotcha.
what I can do with it.
What do you where are you purchasing most of your stuff? Is it eBay, auctions,
I would say
Facebook, Twitter, whatever?
it's a mixture of eBay and card shows. So I
Okay.
got a majority of those cards not post from a card show. So it's like,
Okay.
and it's always cool at card shows to interact with vendors and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
yeah, and like, it's like one of the vendors that was there, he won. That's where I got the same mutual from, and he said he told me this one tip. He says modern is really more for flipping, so because you want to make a quick buck on it, and while vintage is something you always keep.
Yep.
It's always collector's items. So he says if you ever want to invest in something or you ever just want to keep it, just put it in a safe and forget about it. Like that's kind of what his stuff is. That's kind of what his tip was. And I look at modern, it's just like, yeah, it's pretty much there to flip. So like, I buy a John Morant card, flip it for X amount of money, and I'm gonna go buy a vintage card. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like it's like a hot potato, right? You get it, and then when it gets hot, you got to get rid of it because you don't want to be stuck with a card that's on the downward, the other side of the hill, as they say.
Yeah.
Um, so where do you have you gotten to the point now where you're using the bank to put your money in, or to put your cards in, or
Yeah.
because
I've gotten a safety deposit box for my bank, so I keep all like my cards that are like 500 and over in that bank.
gotcha. It's a
So
wise move, yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
because like last thing I need is a flood or something, just ruin them and that's fine.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you still need to keep in mind you still need to insure your stuff, whether it's at the
Yeah.
bank or not. So keep that in mind.
Oh
And
yeah, I
make
worked
sure
on
you
that right.
cover.
Yeah, I've been working on that because like me and my dad have been talking about this for a month now. We're just trying to figure out how to attack that and all that stuff. So we're okay.
Yeah, it sucks because you want to have your cards with you all the time, but you
Oh
want
yeah.
to make sure you have your cards for all time. So it's a double-edged sword. I have a lot of stuff at the bank, and every now and then I get them together for a group photo and send them back to the bank.
There you go.
All
Yeah.
right, so I'm going to wrap up here a little bit. I'm going to ask you a couple quick questions here. You're 19 years old. I'm 53 years old. People my generation talk about coffin cards. Maybe you don't have that yet, but what do you foresee as right now in your collection? What has the most sentimental value to you?
I would say the most sentimental value I have in our card is the 1948 Leaf Stan Musial
Okay,
because Stan Musial like one of my grandpa's favorite players of all time, and he got to watch him play and all that stuff.
right.
And like he told me all these stats that he had, and he actually would have had like 4,000 plus hits if we never went to war. He lost like 5 years, 3 years, something crazy to the war, and he finished like 3,800 some hits or something like that.
Um,
And he would always tell me stories of him being in Sportsman Park watching Stan Musial hit a bomb in center field or something, or like because he said that he's probably the best player he's ever seen play.
that's
So,
incredible because Stan. I mean, everybody loves Stan Musial, but he kind of did it in a low key manner. We
mhm.
know Mickey Mantle and Ted Williams and all those guys, but Stan did it. It's probably because I believe St. Louis was the farthest west team back then in the baseball, so it was he was literally out in the way out in the sticks
Oh yeah,
compared to the East Coast, right?
yeah.
So that card's staying with you forever, you think, right?
Oh yeah. Unless I have to upgrade it, then
Well,
I'll.
I don't know, man. And it doesn't. It's just
But
you gotta have something that you hold on to forever,
exactly.
man. Uh, Talk about a blown save here. Okay, a blown save is a card that you had and then you traded, sold, or well, probably not lost, but somehow it's not in your possession. Do you have any instances where you had a blown save that you regret?
Back in 2017, right? I had this Patrick Mahomes signed rookie card. Okay.
Mm.
At the time, I traded it for like a $15 card, right? Because like his cards were not worth anything,
Right, right,
and I traded that card for I don't even remember what I traded for. It was like some dude I thought was gonna be really good. He
right.
did not pan out. He not
Hopefully it wasn't Alex Smith, right?
no one out. No, but like um, it was like some quarter Mitch Trubisky. That's who it was.
Okay, yeah,
Mitch
wow.
Trubisky, and now it's and then I was like, oh, he's gonna be good, and then just never panned out. And then the guy won, obviously. Because now that card, I look back and it's like a $10,000 card. I'm like, dude, I can buy a
That's
nice.
crazy.
Yeah, I'm like, I can buy a nice mantle with that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the ones I was like, crap, should have kept that.
Well, just so you know, everybody has those instances, so you learn from it, right? And you
Oh
just
yeah,
get better. I mean, nobody can predict what a card's going to be worth, but don't keep yourself up at night.
oh yeah. All right.
Somebody that probably did keep themselves up at night was a guy named Bill Buckner. I don't know whether you know what Bill Buckner's famous for, but Red Sox in '86 had the World Series sewn up, and Bill Buckner let the ball go between his legs, and
Oh
right. So, did you have an instance where you were so close to getting a card, and you just couldn't close the deal, or you should have closed the deal. That happens a lot, right? We see something we could have bought for 150 and now it's worth whatever. So blown save is you had the car. Bill Buckner is, how close were you? Do you have any
So
circumstances?
there was this. It was actually pretty recent. There was this one guy that had this Royal Clemente rookie, and he had like $900 or whatever in trade value or something like that.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, okay, let's figure out something. I'll give you this in cash. And he was like, I'm not a big fan of those cards, but oh, okay. And so it's like me and him kind of had like two different theories of collecting because he wanted so that he would be able to move pretty quick.
Right.
And all that stuff. So I was like, okay, I don't think I have stuff that would be able to move super quick. So we just kind of ended the deal there. So I was not very happy about it because that Clemente card I've been chasing for like years. I'm like, dude.
Yeah, Clemente's he's a great guy to collect.
Mm-hmm.
Good looking cards, and obviously a great human being. So
Someone that's very undervalued in the hobby though. Would
yeah.
be the most undervalued card I've ever seen. So
Well, listen,
uh,
vintage is like an onion, man. There's so many layers. Like you get to a guy like Clemente, then you don't think there's any more, but then you get to you talked about Musial. There's so many players that you could just keep peeling the onion back. Henry Aaron was a guy that was undervalued up until very recently. So
yeah, it's
and
like
it
crazy.
never ends, man.
Yeah,
You know.
because like my Cubby's part of like the 500 home run club, and
Yep. Yep.
nowadays with the like everyone always looks at the home run stat nowadays, so you would think that card would probably go up a little bit, but it's just there's a lot of cards in the hobby that are very undervalued. I'll say that.
Yeah, for sure. But they get hot, man.
Oh
It's
yeah.
all of a sudden like again. I told you, Hank Aaron his rookie card popped out of nowhere the last couple of years, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody's got to have an Aaron rookie.
They've been like triple digits.
Yeah,
That used to be, and now you can't find one for less than like $1,000 ever.
yeah,
2,000.
yeah. But they're pieces of art. You look at
Oh
these
yeah.
cards, and it's amazing looking at them. And there's a history. I always say there's a history behind every card. Somebody pulled that out of a pack in 1953 or 55, whatever. And it's you know,
Yeah.
people
This
weren't
same
buying them. Oh, what do you got there?
this same usual has a pretty big. Ooh man, that's bad glare.
Yeah,
This team uses a pretty crazy history because it's like you can't tell here, but it's like beaten to shreds. It's taped on the
right,
back, all that
right.
stuff. Like I can
Yeah.
tell a kid had that back in the 40s. I can tell.
Well, I could tell you in the '70s, man, we used to throw those things around, and flipping meant something else.
Hmm.
Literally, it was like we played card games with them, and we pitch them up against walls. We would beat them
Hmm.
up.
Yeah.
Nobody cared about condition back then because again, they weren't long term. It wasn't a long term play. It was just something to get you away from having to do homework was to look at your baseball cards
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So
My grandpa said when he was a kid, he would invite his friends over and they would hang up these cards on a bulletin board or
uh
whatever
huh,
they had,
right,
and they would just throw a card at it, and wherever cards fell, that was their card to keep. So it was kind
yeah.
of cool. And then he also said that in school, his teachers would always let him bring in cards so he can read the backs of them during reading time. The cards
Y-
were they were big back in the day, but they weren't high valued. We'll say that.
Yeah, what little math I know, I learned from the back of baseball cards. Compiling averages and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
everybody remembers career totals, home run totals, hit totals. It was sure as entertainment, but it was also educational.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, listen, man, thanks for getting up early. I appreciate it. You want to give us any of in case anybody wants to contact you or reach out to you, sell you some of those mantles? You want to give us your Facebook or your Twitter, your Insta, whatever you want.
Yeah. My I gotta look at my Facebook, but my
I've lost Josh for a second. Hopefully he'll come back. He switched computers, I guess. Or he's on his phone. So I'd tell everybody a joke right now, but really don't have one. Hey, you're back.
all right. So the Facebook would be just like it's just Josh Walker,
Right.
and you just there's just a goalkeeper, just making a say that's my profile and all that stuff. And if you ever want to contact me, you can always. I don't know if it's doing on, but
And we've completely lost Josh at this point. So Josh, here he comes again. Hold on. Hey, there
there,
you go. You're back. That's all right, man. We
all
can
good.
we can find
My
your Facebook, right?
oh yeah, right. No, my
Yeah.
Facebook is just Josh Walker,
Okay.
and the icon just a goalkeeper playing, making a save, and all that stuff. That's pretty much the profile picture. Instagram is jwalker101 for Instagram. And if you ever want to contact me via email, it's just joshwalker084@gmail.com.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. I'll see you on the Facebook vintage groups. There are plenty of them, and they're a pretty good tool to keep on collecting. So, well,
I'll say one advice before I leave here. For young collectors, you always want to rely on other collectors. So when you post on a Facebook group or on any group, don't just say I'm looking to buy X card because then you're gonna get all these like guys that aren't true collectors. They just want you for the money, all that stuff. But when you meet a true collector, they like to help you out. Because I have a buddy on Facebook. His name is Dave Shore.
okay.
This dude helps me out so much on stuff. Like he will help me find certain cards that I need. He will sell me certain cards I need. And like he's like open to everything that I have. So it's like you always want to find someone that's able to do that, pretty much.
Good advice, man. I appreciate it. I'm gonna get you out of here, and then I'm just gonna wrap up my show. And thanks again, Josh Walker, for joining me on that '70s Card Show. Have a great morning, man. I'll talk to
Thank
you
you.
later. Bye.
Bye.
All right, so that was Josh. We got him in and out there with his. He was on his cell phone, so kind of jumping between screens there wasn't easy. So yeah, I wanted to get somebody on with a different perspective, and it's neat to see that even though there's a separation of age, technology, and uh, just how things are done these days, it common goals still prevail. Josh wants to be heavy into vintage collecting, and he's well on his way. So it's neat to see somebody with both feet in modern times, reaching back and participating in the part of the hobby that I love most, which is vintage collecting. So again, episode 27. Appreciate everybody staying with me here. A couple weeks this is my last show from Vegas, thank goodness, and I'll be coming from LA next week, and then 2 weeks from now I will be home, thankfully, and promise a big, what I'm calling a Mailzilla mail day, so I'm looking forward to doing that on YouTube. Reach out to me at That 70s Card Show on Gmail or at 70s Card on Twitter. And again, subscribe, like, bash me, give me 1 star out of 10, whatever you want to do on YouTube. I appreciate you guys listening. Music is by Mango Safari here if you're on the podcast listener devices. And enjoy your collecting and enjoy your collection. Have a great week, everybody.